Silence sometimes speaks louder than words. Carl Jung. Have you ever hurt so deeply that all you wanted was a simple apology from someone you love? But instead, you get silence, coldness, or confusing actions that leave you wondering if they even feel remorse at all? If you're in a relationship with an avoidant, you've probably felt this pain. They don't apologize the way you expect. There are no tearful confessions or flood of texts. Instead, there's withdrawal, silence, or gestures that make you doubt if they feel guilty at all. Avoidants don't lack awareness of their mistakes. They just don't process emotions in a typical way. When you push them to admit fault, they shut down emotionally out of fear of vulnerability and feeling not enough. And so how do you get an avoidant to truly own their mistakes and apologize sincerely? The key isn't chasing the apology, but standing firm in your calmness, boundaries, and self-respect. When you stop chasing, stop explaining, and hold your own pain, they begin to feel the emptiness they created. That's when a genuine apology can begin, not from pressure, but from their deep self-awareness. This article will take you on a journey to understand avoidance better and guide you to help them open up authentically without losing yourself in the process. Have you ever waited eagerly for a sincere apology from someone you love? A heartfelt apology that might come with a warm hug, tearful confession, or a flood of texts showing remorse. But instead, you are met with silence or confusing behaviors that leave you wondering, do they truly regret hurting me? Do they even realize what they've done? This scenario is all too common in relationships with people who have an avoidant attachment style. These individuals don't apologize in the traditional ways you expect. There are no grand gestures, no dramatic displays of regret. Instead, they often respond with silence or behaviors that leave you puzzled, such as avoidance, coldness, or even ignoring you. But the crucial thing to understand is they do feel guilt, but they don't know how to process or express these emotions in a typical way. When you pressure them to admit their fault, you inadvertently trigger their deepest fears, the fear that they are not enough, that they will be judged, rejected, or abandoned. For avoidance, admitting fault means confronting vulnerability, loss of control, and emotional exposure. These are experiences they have learned to avoid early in life, often because they were hurt or not accepted when showing their true feelings. Therefore, when put on the spot to apologize, they can't respond with the words or affectionate gestures you want. Instead, they often shut down emotionally, withdraw, or create distance ways to protect themselves from further harm. This does not mean they don't care or don't feel pain when hurting you. On the contrary, many avoidants experience intense guilt internally, but lack the tools or means to express it appropriately. That's why you'll often see them avoiding direct confrontation, reluctant to openly admit their mistakes or apologize in a clear and transparent way. They may feel remorse, but fear and feelings of not being enough prevent them from showing it outwardly. In relationships, this creates a vicious cycle. You want an apology to heal, but they respond with withdrawal or silence, which causes you more pain and pushes them further away. Understanding this is the first step toward creating a safe space where the avoidant can genuinely open up and come forward with a sincere apology, not through pressure, but through your calm, steady boundaries and presence. After understanding why avoidants don't apologize the way you want, the big question is, how do you get them to truly own their mistakes and apologize sincerely? The answer is not in chasing after an apology or forcing them to face their faults immediately. In fact, chasing apologies usually causes avoidants to shut down emotionally even more. They cannot handle pressure or direct confrontation. When you push, you unintentionally trigger their deep fear of not being enough and shame, causing them to withdraw instead of opening up. The breakthrough key is stop chasing the apology and instead stand firm in your calmness and boundaries. You don't need to keep explaining the pain you're going through. You don't need to beg or demand acknowledgement from them. Instead, show clearly that you can endure your pain independently without needing them to fix you. You heal yourself by holding steady calmness and emotional autonomy. This creates an emotional space that they themselves have created. This space isn't punishment or revenge, it's self-respect and refusal to be hurt continuously. Avoidants are used to being chased, blamed, or frozen out in silence. But when you pull away with calm dignity, they get disoriented because they're no longer in the old emotional control script. The silence is not meant to hurt, but to create room for self-reflection, to make them feel the loss and begin genuine remorse. That space allows them to feel the impact of their actions, not through words, but through the energy you project. You no longer have to argue, explain, or plead. You simply stand there, calm, clear, and unyielding in refusing to accept ongoing hurt. This is the power of setting boundaries, boundaries that protect you and create a safe container for the avoidant to truly open up. When you stop chasing, stop blaming, and instead hold clarity, calmness, and firm boundaries, something miraculous begins to happen. Avoidants, who are used to being chased, blamed, or ignored in silence, start to feel disoriented. They lose the familiar script they use to control your emotions and behaviors, something they deeply fear. The silence you create is not punishment or revenge. It is not meant to hurt them. It is a safe space, a sanctuary where they are forced to face their actions without being overwhelmed or triggered by your emotions. In this quiet space, they begin to feel the real loss. They recognize that their withdrawal, silence, or avoidance is not just self-protection, but deeply hurts you and creates an unbridgeable gap. This is the beginning of genuine remorse, not a forced or fake apology. At the same time, your presence with clear boundaries and steady calmness acts as a mirror, reflecting an emotional maturity they may have never seen in themselves. You do not crumble, chase, or beg. You simply exist with clarity, peace, and steadiness. This forces them to confront themselves. They are placed as the outsider in the very relationship they created distance in. They are compelled to ask, what can I do differently? Do I really want to lose this person? Purposeful silence and boundaries not only protect you from further harm, but open a door for internal change within the avoidant, a change that cannot happen if you keep chasing, demanding, or blaming. When an avoidant truly feels remorse and wants to apologize, you may not receive a clear, direct verbal apology as you expect. Instead, their apology often comes through small, subtle actions that carry deep meaning. They might suddenly show up in your life without warning, signaling that they still care and remember you, even if they cannot or dare not say it out loud. These unannounced appearances are not coincidences, but signs of their effort to reconnect despite awkwardness and fear. They may also fix small mistakes they have made addressing issues or trying to change habits that hurt you. Though not a verbal apology, these actions demonstrate indirect and meaningful accountability. Moreover, avoidants might sincerely check in on you, showing genuine concern for your life and feelings. Small questions, gentle messages, though not explicit apologies, are their way of expressing gratitude and deep regret. When you recognize the true intent behind these actions, you can open your heart to accept their apology, even if it's imperfect or different from what you imagine. An avoidance apology is a process, a small step in learning to accept and express emotions. Recognizing and honoring their way of apologizing helps you maintain patience and compassion, creating space for the relationship to evolve in a healthier direction. After understanding how to help an avoidant open up and express apology through actions, it's crucial to be aware of common pitfalls, especially avoiding turning the apology into a control game. Many people, hurt and confused, tend to use withdrawal, silence, or demands for an apology as a way to test the avoidance reaction. They hope that pressure will force the other person to show emotions, admit fault, and change. However, this approach is not only ineffective, but damaging to both parties. Avoidants, already deeply wounded by rejection or blame, respond to pressure or manipulation by shutting down and retreating even further. They feel attacked, cornered, and unable to find a safe space to express emotions. Instead of creating connection, these emotional tests only lead to more tension, chaos, and stalemate in the relationship. What you really need to do is create a safe, pressure-free environment where the avoidant can gradually lower their defenses and meet you in authenticity. That safe space doesn't come from forcing, but from patience, calmness, and holding your boundaries firmly. When you stand strong in self-respect, refusing to tolerate ongoing hurt without chasing apologies, you send a clear message. I'm not playing control games. I only want truth and respect. So. Remember, your requests for apology or change must come from genuine intention, not manipulation or punishment. And by maintaining this stance, you not only protect your heart, but also give the avoidant the chance to truly grow and face their feelings healthily. While the strategy of holding firm boundaries, stopping the chase for an apology, and creating a safe emotional space can be transformative in many cases, it's important to understand that it won't work for every avoidant. This approach heavily depends on the avoidant's level of emotional maturity and self-awareness. Those who have begun to recognize their wounds are on a path of self-growth and genuinely want to change, are more likely to open up and respond positively to this method. However, if an avoidant remains deeply entrenched in defense mechanisms, unwilling or unready to face and take responsibility for their emotions, or exhibits abusive personality traits, you might never receive a sincere apology. In such cases, they may continue to withdraw, ignore, or repeat hurtful behaviors. At that point, your priority must shift from trying to change them to protecting yourself by setting clear boundaries, boundaries that prevent further harm. You need to honestly assess whether staying in the relationship continues to provide safety and peace for you. If it doesn't, you must find the courage to walk away, because there is nothing more painful than remaining invested in a relationship where growth and accountability never come from the other side. Your true power does not lie in forcing others to apologize or admit fault. It lies in how you stand firm on your own 2 feet, honor yourself, and maintain clear, steadfast boundaries. The silence you choose is not silence born from suffering or quiet endurance, but silence of power and self-mastery, a silence strong enough to keep you from being swept away by emotional chaos and to preserve your self-worth. When an avoidant senses that steadfastness and self-control within you, they can begin to step out of their defensive walls, face the pain they once denied, and utter a genuine apology, one that is not coerced but born from deep understanding and awareness. You don't need to yell or beg to be heard or acknowledged. Sometimes, steadfast silence is the most powerful language, a language that says you know your worth and will not tolerate meaningless hurt. Believe in your own strength, the strength of steadfastness and self-mastery, not only to protect your heart, but also to open the way for a healthier, more authentic relationship